Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On Point EDC. Today I have a really cool review for you from the brand Real Steel. A little bit about them: they were founded back in 2013. They are made in China, and essentially their market segment is high value knives from entry level to high end. So everything from super basic to some really actually pretty cool high tech offerings that they have, a few of which have actually been reviewed on the channel before. Now, I'd say if I was to categorize this type of knife, you could call it a modern slip joint, which is probably, under that modern traditional family and kind of that umbrella when you think about kind of the meshing of those two worlds. But for a modern slip joint, essentially, you're going to have that traditional non-locking two-handed opening knife with a modern build and materials. This particular model is actually called their Luna slip joint, and it's essentially a gentleman's folder designed by Jacob Quiz of Poltergeist Works. So yeah, I don't know how to pronounce Jacob's name, his last name, but this thing is really quite nice, and essentially is a go anywhere, legal everywhere, slim, a pocket knife with a pocket clip, which is really a nice and welcome addition. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. All right, now before we pick this guy up, let's actually do our customary wristwatch check. Here we have the Zelos Mako 3. The reason why I thought this would be a good pairing for this particular review is because, Real Steel knives, of course, they are a made in China company, and then there's definitely a parallel as far as products that are made in Asia. This particular micro brand is out of Asia as well. And man, can they produce a fine product. So I thought that would be only fitting to review this particular knife in, was to have something, again, that faces the same stigma, but really makes a case for really the brand and the overall market segment of things made in Asia that can actually be really quite beautiful and fantastic and offer a great value for money, as well as something that is not just high value as far as, being affordable and whatnot, but actually give you a really big bang per buck with what you're getting. Now, this Luna slip joint is really outstanding. I mean, number one, the MSRP is under 120 bucks. It's 119. You can get them for 95.20, and then actually I got this one on sale from Knife Center for 67.16. So if you're watching this now, definitely check for those deals. But this is a super affordable knife, but it doesn't have it's not a super affordable layout. I think there's a lot to it, and there's a lot to love here. Namely, look at the beautiful, beveling and finishing on this great handle here, of course. And then are some really innovative features, but I mean, the oversized pivot I think is really great and works. Definitely looks very modern. And then you do have that nice kind of satin blasted finish there on the blade, which I think also ties in and gives it a very, very modern look, although it's a very traditional type of knife. As you can see here, that it's non-locking, so there's nothing that can lock on it. Essentially, you open it here, you have that fuller that goes all the way down, and then you have a third stop there instead of the traditional half stop, which is great because let's say you do accidentally try to close it, or you want to close it one-handed, this is going to be nowhere near where it's going to bite you. And if it did have a half stop, it probably would bite you a little bit on the way down. So I think that's really smart. And then another thing that I think is really smart is this jimping here, which you can use essentially to really lock in and hold the blade so it's not going to go anywhere, at least not without you saying so. So I think that's really nice, and something that definitely, of course, you do have to worry about with slip joints. But I think this is a great kind of learning type knife. I think for some people that are just so used to everything locking up, to really treat your cutting tools with care, and that's something that you do have to pay attention to. And I do like that it's ingenious that they have the jimping there, so you can really get some purchase and lock in that blade. Now, to get into some of the details, the blade shape here is, of course, a drop point blade. It has a nice flat grind to it. This is Bowler N690 stainless steel. So essentially, N690 is like the equivalent to something like a, excuse me, a VG10 or a, 154 CM. So, stainless steel, nothing crazy, nothing super high end. It's kind of like the budget version, I guess, of M390 is the N690. And from that aspect, it's easy to sharp, easy to maintain and whatnot. And you know, obviously it's actually quite stainless, which is really great. Let me actually wipe off some of the fingerprints there, because you know what, these hot studio lights do tend to get the hands a good amount of sweat there. So but this thing in hand, as you can see, really nice minimalist look and feel. This thing is really great, sharp out of the box, as you can see. Very nice thin blade stock, guys. And when you actually are moving, you can see that the spine here is you know, unlike a super traditional where everything would be very flush. This is all machined, and it actually has little bevelings and whatnot, but it still fits together quite nicely, and there's very minimal movement there on that kind of back lock. Well, even though it's not a lock, but you know what I mean. So and then when you have it closed, really nice, of course, and then you do have this really cool deep carry clip. It's more like a pen style, which is nice. So when this is actually in your pocket, nobody would even second guess that it's a knife. So I think that's really nice when you're trying to be a little bit more discreet, more low profile. And then obviously the whole point of this knife is that it's, you know, it's kind of go everywhere, legal anywhere, because it's non-locking and it's under 3 inches when it comes to that blade length. So it has a lot going for it. Also, it's only 2 ounces, 2.45 ounces, so less than 2.5 ounces. So this thing is quite light. You can get an even lighter one that's about an ounce lighter from Blade HQ. They have an exclusive carbon fiber scaled version. So that's also out there, and I think it's even cheaper. So that's really nice. Probably not cheaper than this one on the sale price, but cheaper in the general MSRP. I want to say it's like 89 versus the 95 that these typically go for. Now, as far as the in-hand ergonomics go, I mean, you can see this thing fills up nice. It fills up the fingers. You know, your fingers don't wander. They can lock in pretty nice. Fills in your hand very naturally. And then that jimping really gives you a place to really dial in. And you know, obviously you don't want to like stab and then like bring down, because then you can close the knife. But even in this type of case, I think you're going to have enough purchase there where you can actually hold that blade back with a fair amount of purchase, which is nice. And there's very little resistance. This thing is super smooth. It actually has like a double layer phosphor bronze pivot. So basically each side has two washers that are phosphor bronze, and they're drilled through, so that it actually, this is insanely smooth action here. So really nice. Really beautifully smooth. So although obviously since it's a slip joint, you don't have that fidgetability of a flipper or anything like that, or an axis lock, this one is really quite a joy to actuate and deploy and put away. And the nice thing is you can actually put it away pretty easily with one hand, because of that very useful 1/3 stop. In the pocket, lays really nice, butts up against your leg, of course, because it's nice and thin. It's very unobtrusive and definitely stays out of the way, so you can actually very easily get past things as you're coming down. There's nothing that's going to catch your hand as you're reaching down in your pocket to navigate to grab anything else that's at the bottom of the pocket, which is really great. Now, I did mention the model variants. Basically, there's just 2 ways to have this guy, in titanium or with the carbon fiber scales. And then comparable options, guys, there's tons of competition in the space. But this one really stands out to me, especially at the price point. You know, I'd say this is really a true reverse halo type of knife, right? So you have the halo model, which is just like everything, right? Modern, everything, top build, top steels, all that stuff, top materials and fit and finish. A reverse halo is when you have that kind of really approachable, affordable option. But it's a leader in the segment as well, right? So like a reverse halo for Honda for many years was like the Civic, right? As much as they had the NSX halo car, reverse halo was the Civic, right? Everybody wanted a Civic, especially like a Civic Type R or something like that. This is kind of in that realm of it's affordable and attainable, but it's still very desirable, right? Because it's designed really excellently, guys. And then also it's just quite in style right now to, you know, with the modern slip joint in that space. It's something that people are kind of going back to. It's kind of fun. And then you do have, of course, a very nicely executed deep carry pocket clip, which is great. And then you have this great contouring. It fills the hand really nicely. It feels quite modern. It almost, I mean, this thing is like a budget Chris Reeve and Penda. I shouldn't even say it's like it's more than that, right? But I guess like if you wanted to have a Chris Reeve and Penda and you just weren't willing to spend that much money, especially on a slip joint, this should definitely be the knife for you, because with the oversized pivot and just the kind of general overall ethos and the execution and you know what this thing is at the end of the day, it's just really cool. And I even appreciate that they didn't do a nail nick and they did that nice fuller along the top of the blade length there, so you could grab it and pinch to get that two-handed open. And if you really want to, you could clip on a little thumb stud and you can probably, you know, you can do the one-handed action on it. But this thing's really nice, guys. I'm not a huge slip joint guy. I have a couple, of course, in my collection, but this by no means is something that I've been lusting for. I've actually been kind of almost like missing out, I feel like, on a lot of really fun slip joints that have come out, like the Benchmade Proper and the Lion Steel has a ton of different slip joints that are modern and really nice, because I just am not big on non-locking knives, just because, you know, I like to, I'm a user, obviously my time in the Marine Corps I spent using knives, so having a slip joint is not something, you know, that traditionally I would like to do, but it's nice to have something kind of, you know, in my EDC tool bag that I can pull out at any time, and I know I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be in any type of legal problems with this in my pocket walking down a street, because it's under 3 inches and it's non-locking, so I can probably walk through, you know, pretty much anywhere and not worry about somebody getting freaked out. And then it, you know, obviously has the non-aggressive open there with 2 hands, you know, so if you need to open some mail in front of somebody, open a box, package, whatever, they're not going to freak out by it. And, you know, you can even argue, hey, it's non-locking, so you probably shouldn't be worried that I'm going to try to stab you with this, because it would close on my hand if I tried to stab somebody or anything with this. So with that said, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do hit like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. But let's go ahead and just appreciate. Let's wipe it off real quick here. But let's appreciate the design on this guy. That is a handsome tool. So it definitely does hit the points of almost like a you know, just a little bit of man candy, right? And this is some pretty cheap man candy at under $100. I mean, I especially considering I got this thing under $80. And then it's, you know, very respectable steel. It's definitely coming more into style as an option. I see more and more brands kind of using N690 as, you know, their budget option, which I, you know, really don't have a problem with. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do it like, and if you haven't, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.